Good to see you there. I'm finally rocking some gear from my alma mater. Shout out all the Gothic Knights out there. NJCU Gothic Knights. Finally rocking some alumni swag. Well, I just bought it, but I didn't get gifted it. What up, Whiskey Neat? What up? Thank you. All right. So yesterday when I got off, right? Like I had let me stop talking like a stereotype. So yesterday, thank you for the thumbs up. Yesterday I hopped off and I went on a little bit of a rant. I'm about to delete it from from Instagram. Got a little bit of a rant. And it kind of impacts the way I was approaching today's live stream. So I saw on Sunday, I don't know if it was a debut. Looks like it aired maybe back in June. But on Sunday what's up, Jessica? On Sunday, on like a local PBS television here, so ETV, SC ETV, a special that I hadn't seen before that I never knew about aired. It was called Meltdown in Dixie. And the reason why I caught wind of it was through an Instagram. Was it Instagram? Yeah, I think it was. I'm going to Instagram right now. An Instagram post. Try to find it before I switch up the screen. Hold up real quick. Oh, here it is. Okay. Boom, boom. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna switch up. Hey Debbie, good morning. It's good to see you. So yeah, so I followed it. I think I follow this account. Maybe on my personal I follow this account. Nonetheless, I'm not familiar with this nonprofit. Let me see what it says here. I literally just reading the bio with y'all. I know it's really tiny, but it's the SC Humanities page on Instagram. South Carolina Humanities Funds promotes, counsels, and coordinates humanities programs, exhibits, documentaries, discussion forums, workshops. Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot. And so I'm looking at the page for sure, and the things that they're attempting to tackle and whatnot. And I don't know. Again, I don't know much about this nonprofit. If y'all know anything, please educate me. What's up, new follower? You know what? Okay, hopefully I don't have no mess today, because I put whatever. I'll tell y'all later. But anyway, hello, new follower. Hopefully this is a good new follower. It's a subscriber only chat, I believe, so only subbies can participate. But anyway, so they posted here. They posted Meltdown in Dixie and SC ETV premiere. Didn't know about it at all, and I missed it, right? But I've got PBS Passport, so I said I'd probably be able to watch it on demand, and so I did, right? But like after I hopped off Instagram yesterday, and I knew that I was going to talk about the special. I was going to watch it, talk about it on the live stream, just to see what it is, break it down. Good morning, Rugby. What up, little mama? I'm still looking for your book. Little mama, did I give you my P.O. box, or did I give you my personal address? You'll know, of course. Let me know if I give you I can't remember what address I gave you. But so I hopped off. I hopped off the live stream. I hopped off Twitch and I said, okay, let me start getting my thoughts together for the Meltdown in Dixie discussion for today. And as I hopped off, somebody brought it to my attention. I posted it on Twitter. I'm gonna open up my Twitter. Someone. Shout out to the follower who sent me the screenshot. So yesterday, y'all know I read the front page. I read the front page of the Post and Courier. Talked about the closing of the Chronicle after 15 years. For those who don't know, the Charleston Chronicle is a historically black newspaper that had been operating in Charleston for 50 years, and it closed its doors. Sadly, it closed its doors. But so basically, what I didn't do, y'all, is turn the page yesterday and continue to read the article. I just wanted to kind of just summarize it, skim it, right? All right, thank you, Nicole. So the shout out to the follower though. So I got upset, and it's actually I'm gonna make it make sense too. Okay, you're talking about a documentary on ETV and what it tackled and what does this got to do with what was blatant oversight, blatant erasure, right? Because that's what we're about to talk about. So basically, the follower sent me the inside of the article that we didn't read together, right? And it says, I'm going to try to blow it up a little bit. Nope. Doesn't let you do it. I'm sure if I download it. Hold on. Let's see if I can get it that way. Let's see. Nope. Oh, here we go. Here we go. So the inside of the article says this. So Adam Parker, who authored the piece, and this is not going to be about personal grievance. It's going to be a larger conversation because I want to take it off Adam and make it about a bigger conversation because I know that folks expect me to keep going on and on about Adam. I've already told y'all about Adam Parker, and we're going to kind of broaden this conversation to take it away from Mika and talk about storytelling, talk about narrative, talk about oppression, and talk about what voices are employed to tell these stories, what voices are usually tapped to craft these narratives, and also how Black people are enlisted to like perform their oppression or how it's usually portrayed in media. I want to have that broader conversation. I don't want to have a conversation about Adam Parker and the editorial staff at the Post and Courier who are at this point they're blatantly erasing, the critical, the dissenting opinions I have, the critical voices I have when I, especially, of things, and also my presence in the media, right? And I will also argue that, and I didn't say this on the live, but they omitted, and I know I took a jab at them, but I'm just not a fan of the content. They didn't include Quentin's close-ups, and they didn't include Fernando either, even though Fernando's not Black. I don't believe, from what I read, I don't believe they included other types of media presences, other types of people of color who are in media. But this is what it says. So basically, the closing of the Chronicle, and Adam then starts to rattle off like, okay, well, what is here? If the Chronicle is closed, what exists? What Black voices exist? So as the public debates the issue of representation, and as traditional newsrooms seek to diversify their staffs, some in the community argue there is still a need for Black-run media that provides a platform for historically marginalized people. Hello, it's a survey of social media reveals that to a degree this is happening. All right, Black Lives Matter Charleston and Geechee Experience, for example, have developed prominent voices online. And okay, it goes on, right? Nevertheless, the demise of traditional weekly Black newspaper leaves a void. And they talked to Barney Blakeney, who was a reporter with the Chronicle. And so Barney goes on to say, like, it's a publication that simultaneously kept African American readers informed and asserted their interest. So, like the person who sent it to me captured or observed, you literally are not, like, you chose not to mention me, you chose not to mention Quentin, you chose not to mention, what is here, what's already in place, right? Good morning. Good morning, Amethyst. And so, again, I want to have a larger conversation because I already vented about Adam Parker, but this is the problem here in Charleston. Not just the erasure and omission of Black contributions, not just the unwillingness to, you don't even have to write anything. You didn't write anything glowing about Geechee Experience or Black Lives Matter Charleston. You just mentioned them. Just mentioning my name gives power. I will say this: the Post and Courier cannot give or revoke any power that I might have, or any influence. I don't like to use that term power, but they can't. They don't have complete control of my agency. They don't have complete control over my influence. So I'm not going to give them that. And I think my rant kind of did that. My rant against Adam kind of gave them like more power than they actually have. And so I kind of want to kind of claim that back and claw some of that back that I was saying. But my rage and my immediate reaction was justified. And I'm glad that I did it. And I'm glad that I did it publicly, because honestly, no one else is really as consistent about pointing out where the Post and Courier oftentimes chooses to omit voices, omit parts of history, right? So I don't regret it, but one thing I want to make crystal fucking clear is that I'm not giving the Post and Courier more power, more agency, more authority over my creativity, right? But I will say this, and some folks have asserted this, some of my friends who know that I'm sensitive to this issue, and rightfully so, have said that this is just a testament to your power and influence. The fact that you're just going to go ahead and erase it. And I don't know if I hear that, but I hear that, but like I said, they omitted a couple people, right? But I want to say thank you for that, because that really did help me. But like, honestly, I got over it. I vented, got out in my car, met my girl Amron, who called into the show yesterday, met her at the beach, and we was chilling. And so I kind of like processed it and let it go, but knew that I was going to talk about it today. But this is the broader question or broader discussion about when it comes to marginalized identities, when it comes to people of color, when it comes to Black community, when it comes to Gullah Geechee culture. What are the things that exist right now that they either examine, report on it, tell the story, recount history? These are the things we have to start looking at a little bit more critically, like I did with nonprofit culture last week, and like I did with Turning Leaf. It wasn't so much that I want you to boycott Turning Leaf, but I want to complicate your relationship with Turning Leaf, and I want you to ask them deeper, heavier questions about, the work they do with this predominantly Black population that they're serving, right? And I want you to ask those critical questions. I want you to do the same thing with these institutions who are charged with telling our story, recounting our history, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? In the chat, Charlie the Brit, you wrote, if he knows about Charleston BLM, you have to know about Mika. Thank you, Charlie. I think, yeah. Little Mama, you said exactly. Mika's the first name mentioned when asking about Charleston News. And like I said in my rant, when the Chronicle was when the closing of the Chronicle doors were like a foregone conclusion, I fielded several calls from different folks about, what would it look like if I stepped in, or what would it look like if I was a part of some sort of reanimation? And I was uninterested. I'm still uninterested in doing anything that's reminiscent of traditional media. I'm trying to move it forward. That's why I'm on Twitch. That's why I'm trying to create digital spaces where you can encounter my content. And I have a forward vision for that, right? But it goes to show you that also too, Adam Parker's limitation. And it's not me taking a jab because I'm being mean, because I'm mad. It just shows you Adam Parker's his limitations as a journalist here. And this is why I push back on Adam Parker continuously being the one at Post and Courier. I know they had a lot of hires. I know Thomas Novelli was either he was charged or encouraged to list all the new hires they got. All that made you think about was like, damn, y'all fired a lot of people. A lot of people left. Not fired, but that just to me was like, damn, a lot of people left because you got all these new hires. And of course there are a couple people of color in there in the midst of the new hires and whatnot. But I say all that to say Adam Parker is the voice that's always tapped at the Post and Courier to tell Black stories, to talk about Black history, to give the retrospect. And this is one of the reasons why he's not equipped to do all of the heavy lifting. I'm not saying Adam can't write about these issues. I'm not having that gatekeeping conversation, not today at least. What I am saying, what I will assert is that he doesn't have the range. He doesn't have the imagination. He doesn't have the courage. And if my critique or my criticism of his work or the paper, if that shapes the way you report on what's real and what's actual, that's real fucked up. And I don't know how much of it is Adam, how much of it is the editorial board, how much of it is both. I don't know. I've got my suspicions. I've got my secret squirrels, but I don't know how much of that, where it falls. But I do know this, that I'm gonna put it on Adam's shoulder because his name is on the byline, right? So I'm gonna put it on him. And his response, because I emailed him too, right? I didn't just like mouth off on IG. I emailed him first, and I said something to the effect, and I'm not going to show his response. I'm just going to tell you what he said. But I said something to the fact that, now the erasure of my work and contributions, especially when it comes to a dissenting opinion, I said, now you're erasing it. Now there's like some kind of surgical precision. Like you have to really do a somersault to avoid, you got to do Catherine Zeta-Jones type of, it was that movie where she's like trying to dodge the infrared. You got to do all that to just completely not mention someone who literally comes on here every morning and talks about media, who is media, like I said in the rant, I've been on AM, I've been on FM, I've been on 5G, I've been on broadband, I've been here doing things in the media space. And so to me, it shows your either lack of gumption or your ineptitude, and I don't know which one it is. But and then so like this is the bigger picture too. So my biggest criticism, really, y'all might not even think that that's the truth. This is honest, but this is the honest truth. Biggest criticism about Adam Parker and how he writes these black pieces on, black history. Oh, the highway's coming. Let's talk to all these old black people. Let's talk to Abe Jenkins, which is important. I'm not dissing that at all. But what Adam can only really do is talk about black culture in retrospect. He can't demonstrate that. He can't think about, or he can't write. His writing does not demonstrate that he actually sees black people in dynamic ways. I think my biggest thing that really chafes me, because it's not just Adam, it's a bunch of people throughout the years who've done this shit, right? Whenever they encounter black culture, whenever they encounter black people, the reflex is to talk about the history. And like I said, I tried to say this in the live, and I probably wasn't really good at it. I definitely wasn't. I'm not really great on the fly with anger. But what I said was that, all you do is you write about black history and black trauma, black pain in retrospect, because almost as if like fighting for a future, fighting for fairness, fighting for justice, it seemed as a futile effort. And it almost communicates to me, the reader, that you don't see a vision for black South Carolina, black Low Country moving forward. You only see the past. And like I told this to another writer who has since left the Post and Courier, when the Stinney piece came out, I'm like, y'all really do really good dredging up the past. You do really good going back and looking at the Stinney case, and like black people didn't see that made-for-TV movie back in the 90s, right? We knew about this history. Black people who lived here, who are from here, knew about that story, but they dug it up and they got shortlisted that year for the Pulitzer for their piece on the Stinney trial, and how this young, little black boy was executed for killing two little white girls. I'm like, y'all really good at that, and that really tugs at the heartstrings. And what it also does is make racism and it makes racism and talking about white supremacy, it makes it super simple. It makes it real simple, right? And it does, and it takes away accountability. And in a weird way, I think it takes away accountability, and it also puts white people in a position where, well, I can't do anything about that, but that is a shame, right? As opposed to, I'm not saying that every journalistic piece has to give white people a call to action, but the way that they present our histories in a way where it's done, it's over with, it's the past, there's no moving forward, right? It doesn't, I don't know if that Stinney piece, I can't recollect, I don't know if that Stinney piece had any commentary on the current juvenile justice system that's currently in shambles. Sheriff Graziano and whomever, I'm coming for that ass with that one, so don't even, you might be breathing a sigh of relief, I don't know why, but I'm coming for that ass on that. But I don't know if that Stinney piece talked about how our justice system is still in shambles, and connecting what happened to this young black boy, connecting it to what continues to happen to black kids and the criminalization of black kids in Charleston, in the Low Country, in South Carolina, right? That's something I'd like to, that was something that comes to my mind, right? Right. B-Man, you said in the chat also the article is about the Charleston Chronicle. Weren't folks asking you to work? Yeah, I already said that. Yeah. I'm not interested. This is no shade. I don't want to work for a paper. I don't want to replicate a paper. I don't want to do that. I have a broader vision. And I understand too, this is the other thing. I know this for a fact. White people tend to only hear, and I'm gonna use the word Maura Hogan's word, white folks tend to only hear the invective whatever I create, especially since I've left home radio and really leaned into this space. They only really get the invective. They don't get the larger picture. They don't get the larger vision of what I'm trying to create. I'm trying to democratize media. I'm trying to demonstrate and model something so that someone else can also do the same thing, maybe in a different way. I hope you don't copy and paste, but in a different way. And so they only get the curse words. They only get the anger. Oh, her hair's on fire. She's mad again. They really don't do a deep enough examination. Like I say, they stop at the invective, but they never look at the research. They never look at the production value. I don't know if they assume certain things, but it's just me here in my apartment with over $6,000 worth of equipment. That's it that I had to buy. So like, I don't know what people. I don't know if they see the investment, see me going back to school at College of Charleston, see me trying to learn and hone this craft, see me out here making content since I came back under Pink Verbena, and now coming back to my home, which is politics and social justice issues. Like they just stop at invective. And that shows you like white people just don't have a tolerance for really rich blackness that runs the gamut. They're really easy with passive, humble, easy victim. They're good with that black. Oh, right and wrong, binary. Oh, good black guy, bad white guy. They're really good with that, and that's why I want to get back into the Meltdown in Dixie. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but we're going to investigate. I'm going to tell you some things, and maybe we'll fast forward some things or not. But it was really interesting. The filmmakers, I don't know what the filmmakers look like. I don't know what the whole crew looked like. I don't know if it was mixed. A nice little mix of all types of people. I don't know. Got my guesses because of the end product, but you know what? Honestly, there was a black filmmaker charged with downing of the flag, and I didn't like that documentary either, or I didn't like all of that documentary either. The way that the way the media landscape is set up in Charleston is that you really can't be that hard on white supremacy and white supremacists. For some reason, we still keep positioning white supremacists and white supremacy on the same. We keep positioning them with the same footing of black people or other people from marginalized communities. For some reason, we have to continue to give the white supremacists equal ground. And it's this illusion of objectivity that I know doesn't exist, because if objectivity in media here existed, Adam Parker would have said, you know what, this bitch is hard on my ass personally, but I'm gonna go ahead and just report the fucking facts. She's out here shaping media. And I don't know if Barney said my name, but I know Barney has communicated to me via text and on the phone call that he feels like I'm the next one up. So I'm not, and it's not like about self-congratulations. It's just like I know my voice. I know y'all who reached out to me when you used to listen to me on OWN Radio with a limited signal. I know y'all know that I have a media voice. So don't miss me with the objectivity piece, because I don't think the press is objective. I don't. B-Man, you dropped in the chat here. Your mention, he went back, so he amended it, right? So and so it's not a daily podcast, it's a live stream, and I literally gave him the link to the live stream. So his response was, "Oops," or not "oops." I won't say he said "oops." What did he say? Let me just read it. I'm not gonna flash it because whatever. What did he say? Thank you. He amended it. Which is like, okay. It wasn't in the print version. It wasn't in the print copy. Damn, I get so many emails from like patty wax candles and hold on. Yeah, so hi Tamika. I did forget about your podcast. Sorry. I added a mention to the story online. All best wishes. Yeah, and I think that was dismissive and condescending too. So that's okay. Y'all know I specialize in smarminess. Yep. Yeah. Thank you though. Thank you. And he know I go by mikagadsden. Get out of here. But anyway, and that's the thing. Like there is no objectivity. That's also like, I'm not a journalist, so I don't want to argue that. But anyway, so I say all that to say, my favorite transitional phrase. Check out my website, y'all. Y'all can, if you check out the website, you can get that. You can get the podcast here. You can also hold up. You can get the podcast. You can get the streams, the previous streams here, and you can watch Mic'd Up right here, right? If you ever in a pinch, just go to charlestonactivistnetwork.com. Okay, all right, okay, all right. So staying in that area of like, okay, so white people, when you examine white supremacy, when you examine black culture, what usually is the voice. Let's play the trailer. Let me play the trailer. Yeah, I played a trailer of this documentary, and then we'll watch certain parts of it. So this is Meltdown in Dixie, and I just give you the premise, and then I'm gonna hop right back into something else from NPR that has inspired what I do here in this space right here. Okay, so let's just And can y'all hear me all right? Y'all good? Let me see the volume. Yeah, the volume's good.
It all began with a Confederate flag flying next to an ice cream parlor. The owner of the shop is not happy.
that flag is not mine. It's a piece of property that the Confederate veterans owned.
A battle erupts
Y'all know
within
that
the
flag.
community.
The Confederate battle flag is the soldiers' flag, our ancestors. That's why we're so proud of it.
It stands for racism, slavery, hatred.
Meltdown in Dixie.
So that's a special I watched yesterday. It aired Sunday evening on South Carolina ETV. And I didn't watch it live. I didn't record it on my DVR. But it's right here on Passport. So we're going to watch a little bit. It's 55 minutes long, not too long. And let me give you the abstract that's written here. It says, in the wake of the 2015, in the wake of the 2015 Charleston massacre, a battle erupts in Orangeburg, South Carolina, between the sons of the Confederate veterans and an ice cream shop owner forced to fly the Confederate flag in his parking lot. Meltdown in Dixie explores the broader role of Confederate symbolism. See, this is where they fuck up. The Meltdown in Dixie explores the broader role of the Confederate symbolism in 21st century America and lingering racial oppression, which these symbols help maintain. That's great. That last line is good. But I don't really think it does that. I don't think it explores the broader role of Confederate symbolism. I think what it does is, I think what the filmmakers do, and we'll watch a little bit, what the filmmakers do is give you this account and that account. They give you this side of the story and that side of the story, right? And I think I think there was an emphasis on remaining objective. And to me, we have to get to a point, especially when literally in this special, you have the member or leader of the Sons of the Confederate Veterans literally saying on camera, and he said he did things a couple times that would just literally make you pause and kind of lose your breath as a black person, because you can't imagine a white person being so bold as to say, yeah, sometimes I use the N-word, because when those black people, when some of them, yeah, I use the N-word, yep. And I don't apologize for it. When you have someone that virulently racist and you just put them there in their suspenders and you give them equal footing as the people who are fighting against it, that's a problem. Also, too, they didn't do a good job with history, like the overall history. Talk about the Confederate. You talked about Maurice's barbecue. That was important. But talk about more about the history of Orangeburg, right? And not just the Orangeburg massacre, but there are a number of other political social justice complexities about this area, this predominantly black town, right? And they don't also, I guess Cecil was busy. Cecil Williams was busy. I mean, you're talking about a historian, photojournalist, still living and breathing in Orangeburg with the museum that he built with his own hands. I don't know if he was asked and they just couldn't make it work. But Cecil's right there in Orangeburg. And I had the pleasure of not just visiting Cecil Williams' museum. I think we spent over an hour, maybe 2 hours at the museum, learning history, buying a bunch of books when I worked for BVM. But we also spent time with a local lawmaker. And when I was working with BVM, Black Voters Matter, I was able to tour Orangeburg with the local lawmaker who gave us a very, very rich history lesson. And I think that the filmmakers missed the mark there. What has this got to do with Adam Park? What has this got to do? Because we really do here in South Carolina, there's just this penchant to always get both sides, because God forbid, you don't give the white supremacists a microphone. God forbid you do that. You're not objective. That's not a cogent side. And I'm tired of everything from South Carolina, from Charleston. Well, if you want to talk about oppression, if you want to talk, do I think they should have included his sentiments? Yeah, but the way it's set up, ultimately, to me, it doesn't do what it purports to do in that little caption, which is explores the broader role of Confederate symbolism. It just shows you Confederate sycophancy. And an unwillingness to change. It didn't explore shit. It didn't say anything. It wasn't, there's no narrator, which I'm not saying it should have had, but there was no like captions in the between. There's captions at the end. I don't think there was any captions in between that says, this is false, this is not in line with history, yada, yada, yada. So there were some good things about it, and there was some really good things about it. But there were some things where it fell short. So let me go back. Let me go to an episode of Code Switch, y'all. And I've referenced this. I've probably even played this. at some point on the live stream, but I want to really bring it back because I use this term and I made sure to add quotes whenever I use it. I always say that, like Jennifer Berry Hawes, another writer who I struggle with, how she's engaging with Black pain, Black trauma, working at the Post and Courier. I said this in regards to some of her work and some of the work that Adam's done, that I don't think that white people should be able to be afforded the opportunity to luxuriate in Black horror. I got that from another journalist. I've tried to credit, if I didn't, if you thought that was my own homespun shit, it wasn't. But I tried to credit that where that came from. So we're just gonna play it. I'm gonna play this excerpt, and it's called "Is This What It Means to Be White?" And listen to these journalists and how they approach issues that deal with complex race things. Listen to the thoughtfulness that area journalists, I would say area journalists here could learn a lot from how these white journalists approach this story about white supremacy, right? Especially dealing with like two white people. Like the Meltdown in Dixie, the shop owner is white. So this was interesting. So I'm going to play it and then fast forward it to, let's see.
Support for NPR and the following.
One good man.
Even though the whole nation was talking about Reverend James Reeb's murder, nobody was ever held accountable.
So they're talking about an old murder down in, I think, is it in Alabama or Wyoming? Ooh. So they're talking about a murder of a white reverend at the hands of white supremacists. Just the details right now, let's just go. I really want you to more so focus on what the journalists, how they approach the story. The subject matter is important. Go back and find it later. But how they approach the story is more important than the details of the story. And they actually tell you what the story's about.
50 years later, two journalists, both Alabamians, set out to find out why. And Gene, you spoke with Andrew Beck Grace and Chip Brantley about their podcast, White Lies, where they say they, white Southerners of a younger generation, set out to call out the lies that kept this murder from being solved.
Yep. And of course, I started out by asking them why they chose to investigate a story that centered a white victim of white supremacist violence. Here's Andy.
Whenever you're choosing to take a story, there are lots of different reasons that you choose to take it. Some is access. In this case, we had this unredacted FBI file of an unsolved murder. So that's definitely exciting, right? But then there is just this, what is this the story that needs to be told, you know? But I'll be honest with you, if this was a Black man who had been killed and we had an unredacted FBI file of the murder, I'm not sure that we would have felt that we needed to tell that story. And it's not about the value of that story. It's just about who should tell that story. But because it's a white man, he's killed by white people in a white community that covered it up, and the victim's family is also white, you know, living out in Wyoming. So that decision wasn't about his whiteness as a value judgment. It was instead about the access that our whiteness would allow us to have to tell this story. White people doing the suffering of Black people is a very complicated and problematic thing for.
Let me read that. Let me read it here again. White people, what he just said, instead of rewinding it, because I know I'll be janky. White people doing the suffering of Black people is a very complicated and problematic thing for me personally.
I don't think it's my role to luxuriate in the horrors of Black death, basically.
Okay, I don't think it's my role to luxuriate in the horrors of Black death. Have you ever read anything in the Post and Courier that gives you the inclination or that makes you suspect that this type of thought process, you know, is employed? Nothing that I read in the Post and Courier about race. Now, I'm not saying that everything they write. Jennifer and Adam are both good writers. Is Adam a great writer? He's a good writer, right? Who loves to tout like Brooklyn roots, and I got a whole thing about that. The people that I rub the wrong way the most are people who like, oh, I'm from New York. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. If you ain't no way you fucking from Brooklyn, you really work in Brooklyn. If you struggling with me, ain't no way. Ain't no fucking way you was really ingratiated in Brooklyn. Like that kills me with that, because Adam got a 917 area code. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. They love touting that shit. I'm like, then you don't have no tolerance for dissenting Black voices. That shit is hilarious. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Oh, I was in Manhattan. Oh, I went to the Met. Okay. You ain't saying nothing slick. Anyway, what he just got distracted. But anyway, what these journalists are saying, like this type of deliberation, it just seems absent. Let me just say it like that. It feels absent from the Post and Courier. It feels like even if they do address it, they might be like, yeah, well, you know, I wish we had more diverse voices to tell these stories. Well, Adam, you got it? Okay, sure. Like, I don't know. That's just my really reckless reenactment of what I think goes on in the rooms when they pitch their stories. But I don't know how do they carefully, like, really, really parse through, like, should I be telling this story? How can we tell this story? How can I use my whiteness? Like he said in the previous paragraph, you know, how can he access his whiteness in a way that allows them to tell a story? And you never do that. Like, they never do that. Oftentimes, like with the Chronicle piece, Adam writes this thing that makes you sad that this newspaper went under, but doesn't talk about the state of journalism. It doesn't talk about the perils of journalism. It doesn't talk about how journalism in this area has oftentimes been one-sided. It doesn't say anything. Again, it gives you that trauma porn. Oh, old black newspaper, no longer here. No voices here. Nothing here. It's a void. It's a black hole. It's this. No. I don't do this every morning. I don't get up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning because I'm filled with despair. I'm actually filled with hope. No matter how mean or how hot I might sound, how spicy this mic might be, I have hope. Of course, we have moments of despair here. I've got friends who are preparing to leave here, and countless people who have left here, come and gone because it just was a lot. And I don't doubt. That's cool. Like, do what you got to do to survive. It's not easy here, but one thing I do have is hope. It doesn't make me better. Doesn't make me more equipped. I have hope. And that's not what you're going to get from Post and Courier. You're not going to get it for, and this is less about me. I know this sounds crazy if I'm saying like that. If I'm going to preface it, I'm probably saying the opposite, but it is less about me. I really want to make the argument. It's less about me by omitting me, you're refusing the people the idea of hope, because there is someone here with with a vision that's actually trying to carve out something very vastly different from what we see in mainstream or corporate media here. That's largely run by, that has homogenous leadership. So the fact that you don't put me in, you're still committed, Adam. Post and Courier is still committed to the downtrodden black, irreparable state of black America in Charleston. You are so committed to that narrative, and that's the narrative that your readership either values or probably wants to read. You don't have any courage. You don't have any journalistic integrity to include the other. Fuck my voice. Call Scallywag. Get a quote from Scallywag. Get a quote from the people that run the Bitter Southerner. Like, find these progressive, diverse news outlets that's in the South and get a soundbite from them about the next frontier of journalism or media. You can't do that. That's why you've got 4 white men on Facebook having trouble with Zoom talking about the future of journalism. Which was just, I watched it. It was just really, it felt like, outside of them talking about some investigative journalist pieces, it felt like a fundraiser, which is what it was, a fundraiser, right? And so, like, that's why you got these white men, and I'm not saying that they can't write, they don't write. I'm not saying Tony Bartolome is not a good writer. He's a good writer. All right, but they can't be the face of the future. And the fact that you keep presenting that to the people, you're removing that hope, and you're kind of keeping them in this constant state of despair. Good morning, Joy. Good morning, Brian. Good morning, Honor. Noah, good morning. He says, I'm trying to figure out what bothers me the most about what this guy just said. No, what he said is good. I'm lifting this up. Good morning, April. I'm lifting this up as a good thing. I don't know if you're talking about the NPR piece. This is the kind of thoughtfulness and introspection you want from white journalists that you don't get. At least I don't get it through what they print. I'm gonna rewind it a little bit.
White people doing the suffering of black people is a very complicated and problematic thing for me personally. I don't think it's my role to luxuriate in the horrors of Black death, basically, which is what a lot of white storytelling about Black issues does. This story absolved us from that responsibility, even though it's all predicated upon Black suffering and Black lives and Black murders and all the things that happened in our part of the country. That's the inciting incident for why Reeb's there. But this particular story, it drills down on whiteness in a way that we felt like we had access to, and in some ways a responsibility to try to tell this story in a different way.
And I'm not saying that Adam Parker's piece on the Chronicle should cover like all these things, right? But what I'm trying to say is that Adam Parker and other pieces like that piece, they could drill down on whiteness, right? So if the Chronicle closes its doors and there is a void, as Adam put in his piece, Black people didn't create that void. Black people didn't create that void. These HBCUs, shout out Quadro Campbell who sent me a list months ago. There's mad journalism schools in these HBCUs in this state alone. Just in this state alone. Each HBCU, I believe, has a journalism program, right? But Adam, you lead the whole gold ring students from Syracuse coming to cover Spoleto. You lead that initiative every summer or every time Spoleto starts up. Y'all bring kids from a predominantly white institution to come and cover Spoleto. You don't do anything, Adam, to bring Black students, brown students, right? Here, you don't do that. You don't really focus or hone in on how this coverage could look more complete by having various perspectives, by having a myriad of perspectives cover Spoleto and its various, events and activities, right? So go back to what you said. You said void. Who created the void? Why is there a void? Are you contributing to the void? You are. You omitted Black voices. You omitted brown voices. You're contributing to that, and that's the problem with Post and Courier. They almost posit these problems that plague Black communities as if they occur in a vacuum, as if nobody was like instrumental in its creation. Oh, the Chronicle closes doors. I guess Black people don't read it enough. No, there's probably a lot of barriers. If we could have, and I'm sure Mr. French did document this. I haven't read every piece, every interview that Mr. French gave before he passed away recently, but I'm sure there were some barriers. I don't want to speak for Mr. French. I don't really even, like I said, I'm not in community with any leadership from the Chronicle, so I'm not caping for the Chronicle as much as I am is saying saying I'm sure there were some barriers in place. I'm sure there were some barriers in place for Black journalism here in Charleston. It didn't just occur. It wasn't just, Black readership is down. That ain't it. Right? Yeah, that's not it. I hope they're going to make the Chronicle office, I hope they're going to make it a landmark. Or are they just going to put a metal marker in front of it? Won't you preserve it? Preservation Society. Won't you preserve it? Won't you talk to the family? I don't know who owns the building. I don't know who owns the property. Won't you preserve it though? Show me how much you really care about Black history and culture. Preserve it right now. Don't wait till the fucking ceiling falls in and then say, okay. I don't know who owns it. I don't know if the family has plans for it. I don't know if they sold it. I don't know. But do something to commemorate that. Hello? Is it what Preservation Society? Yeah. All right. So yeah. Okay. Here we go. I'm gonna keep playing it a little bit more. Again, this is the deliberation that I don't feel this goes on in the Post and Courier newsroom. Nah, not when you got Harvey Gantt filed under Negro agitation. I don't feel like this is the ethos. I don't feel like this is at the core of their leadership. This type of introspection from white journalists covering white supremacy. I don't think that they get it. I don't think they get down like this.
A story we hope operates outside of the way a lot of these civil rights cold case stories operate, which is there's a humble victim who deserved to just live their life. Oftentimes that victim is Black, and these are white storytellers. And there's a bad guy who did the terrible thing of murdering that person. And we're going to get the bad guy, and once we get the bad guy, the story's over, right? We just didn't want. That's not the story. That's not the problem here. The problem is not these bad racist guys. The problem is an entire system which creates, supports, and then covers up for these acts. And so we felt like our whiteness and Reeb's whiteness was a way to navigate that without having any of those trappings of the ways in which these stories often operate.
All right, I'm gonna stop it there. And that's what I'm talking about. Let me just read it for effect, just because I want to be dramatic. All right, and again, this is a very specific story in a very specific area. I get that. For those saying, Mika, that's not apples to apples comparison. No. I'm trying to call out that, hey, there's actual white journalists who understand where they are in society and understand their position and understand their privilege, right? And understand how complicated and how overwrought with emotion these stories can be. And so, hey, maybe let me evaluate whether I should be the voice. Maybe let me evaluate if I should be the one telling these stories. This is the practice that we need to start requiring of our media here. So I'm gonna read it again for effect. The story, we hope, operates outside of the way a lot of these civil rights cold case stories operate, which is there's a humble victim who deserved to, just live their life. Oftentimes that victim is Black, and these are white storytellers. And there's a bad guy who did a terrible thing of murdering a person. And we're going to get the bad guy. And once we get the bad guy, the story's over, right? Exactly. And I think that neatness and that convenience is also part of the problem here. People like their stories about racism very concrete. And somebody might say, well, Mika, is that what you wanted from Empire Meltdown? Meltdown, and I don't know why I want to call. Oh, I know why. That is still. I don't know why. If I called it Empire, please pardon me. Meltdown and Dixie. No, a documentary or film need not have a happy ending. Need not have a bow wrapped around it. I'm not arguing for that. I'm arguing for more rigorous introspection of whiteness and how it tends to operate in state. And what would have been cool about this documentary would have been cool to talk about all the other places. If you Black and you drive up if you anybody and you drive up and down 95, whether you're going south or north, but if you're coming from the south going north, or you coming north going all the way south, how many big ass Confederate flags, y'all know them flags I'm talking about, right? Talk about that practice. Talk about why these flags have emerged. Talk about why these flags have stayed. Talk about how these flags have gotten bigger. I'm a road warrior. I can go drive to Philly right now. All I need is an espresso, some sour Skittles, and a Red Bull, and I'll drive straight to Philly right now. Right? Probably won't even stop just to pee, right? So, like, I'm a road warrior. My point in bringing that up, because y'all really needed to know all those details. I'm a road warrior, and I've seen these flags. You've seen these flags. You know where they at. You start driving slower. You get shook. You're like, oh, hold up. Am I in Klan country? We're in the next bathroom. You literally are green booking it in real time. You literally are. I'm a person that has a Rand McNally map and an atlas in her car. So I'm like, okay, wait, let me mark where's my favorite gas station that's not problematic and that's well lit. If you Black and you driving down 95, you know it. Even if you're not, even if you're not riding dirty, you still gotta practice caution, especially no matter if you're riding dirty or not. Right? All right. So let me stop being stupid. I really do just need like an espresso, like triple shot, a Red Bull, some sour Skittles or sour candy, and I'm good. I'm Gucci. All right, so I wanted to spend time there and reacquaint people with that bit of that. Again, this is from Code Switch. This is from 2019. It's like, is this what it means to be white? And this journalist really examining their privilege and their voice when covering stories regarding race, right? So I'm gonna close that out. There were some other things. Let me see. There was some other, let me see. Ooh, so I'm kind of, ooh. Oh, yes.
A difference.
I had a conversation about this with some friends, with a friend. Let me stop acting like I had like multiple people talk about it. But all right, so I wanted to bring up some things too, loosely related, but not really. Some articles that I've read. I didn't read that study. Some articles that I've read. And some things that really, and why diversity, and I don't know, I spoke about it with Fernando on the latest episode of Mic'd Up, the audio podcast, but there's this really deep discussion about, so this is the article from Current Affairs. It's written by Bertrand Cooper. Apparently it went viral, like, when was it written? It was written in July. I guess it went viral, and it was like, it started this debate, right? Who actually gets to create Black pop culture? And it was this larger conversation, and I'm using this for a point. It was a larger conversation about, like during the George Floyd protests, all these like filmmakers and media, like people who made film, television, storytellers in general, from TikTok all the way to, Hollywood. A lot of Black people were tapped to tell these stories, but when the establishment started to tap certain people, there wasn't this class analysis, right? So the question that Bertrand begs in this piece is, who actually gets to create Black pop culture? Why am I bringing this up? I'm talking about how white journalists refuse to examine their whiteness and the way they use their voice in journalism. I'm bringing this up because Black people, we struggle with who should tell the stories. We're having rigorous conversations around, is Ta-Nehisi Coates hot or not? Like, is he really about that, or is he problematic? We're having these conversations that I don't think white people take into account, especially if you continue to treat Black people like infants, and when you continue to be the white savior or the white voice of reason with all things race and culture. I think people ignore the fact that Black people are having these very extensive, tough conversations about who gets to create our culture. So if we're having this conversation, this among family, like, I know white folks is missing the mark because y'all don't even see the complexities. Y'all don't even see the divergent thoughts and points of views. And I'm not saying all white people, you get what I'm trying to say. Like, typically the way the press engages with Black culture is so monolithic and so bland, right? Case in point, I am who I am. I'm going to use my own experiences. I think that's why y'all like that I kind of take my personal experience. Usually I try to take experiences that happened a while ago that I've already processed. But let me just talk about this recent engagement. Shout out, respect to Angela Mack, who served with me on the History and Culture Subcommittee as part of the Special Commission. Outside of that, I don't really have any allegiance. Basically, so the Gibbs reached out to a couple people wanting to build out programming for an upcoming event. I've mentioned it on this live stream before. I'm not going to mention the names of the people that were assembled, but it was me and one other person, and was like, should we be here or not? Are they really committed to change? Are they really committed to elevating their programming in a way that really tackles race, that really confronts some of these really hard to tackle issues? And so me and this other person deliberated at length via text about, like, yo, are you going? I don't know. You going? I'm like, I don't know, man. It's feeling, and it's feeling like the same old. So they get the Black people, and one of them, they get the Black people. I'm not even gonna go there today. Mika discipline. Remember, you don't have to keep jabbing. All right. So seeing how the voices that they called in to participate in this, I knew off rip this wasn't for me. And the second thing that I knew it wasn't for me is, y'all, I'm just keeping it real with you. I get paid when people want me to talk. When people solicit my opinion, they pay me. They pay me, because that's where we're at right now. Stop asking Black people and people from marginalized communities to continue to perform all this emotional labor for free. You don't get to pick my brain for free. I need a stipend. You want an hour of my time? You want 2 hours? You want continuous planning? I need a stipend. You're not going to keep having me on this phone call talking about, oh, how can we make this upcoming program at the Gibbs blackity black, 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 blackity black, 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 black. We're not going to keep doing that. And that's not a hustle. That's not a shield. I mean, that's not a hustle. That's not... we got to get out that practice. Charleston and South Carolina, the only places where New School paid me, We Speak Models paid me, Policy Link paid me, other feminist organizations paid me for my time. So that was the other thing. Like, y'all really committed to confronting racism and white supremacy. You don't even paying the people that you're asking to give input to actually help you build out this programming. You're not even talking about compensation. Right. And so I was like, I was out on that. I don't have time. I don't have the luxury of extra time to sit there and go over how this programming can be a little bit like to help you provide cover for you. Have my name associated with your organization. Yes, not only that, you can look like, to the outside, look like you're actually trying to fix some of your systemic or structural issues with race and with bias and all the other shit. I'm not here to help you with that. Right. So I withdrew my support. Right. Advisors get paid. Right, thank y'all. I mean, say it again. Yeah, we're going to get to the Damon Young piece, Whiskey Neat, too. We're going to get back to that video. Advisors get paid. Exactly. It's just really weird here. Really weird here. I remember I spoke with We Speak Models about, like, I'm not a model. I know I look like one. I know. I know I'm fly. Right? I know I'm fucking fly. Let me see if look at Ashley, your baby. Ashley spit this little girl out. I'm sorry, y'all. It's like she cloned herself. It is so cute. So cute. Shout out Ashley from Ren. So cute. Oh, God. Baby fever. So We Speak Models. Shout out to them. It's an amazing a model management. I'm just showing y'all. Model management, breaking traditional beauty standards since 2013. New York City based. And so, like, when you look at their page, y'all, these are the models that they have. They have all kinds of models. Non-binary, trans, and it's not performative. Differently abled, folks with different types of skin, different sizes. Like, shout out my fellow panelist right here, right? She from Jersey too, Lil Mama and Tom. She from Jersey. I think she's from Freehold. Yeah. All right, Dominicana. Right. So they tapped me. Quincy works there. Quincy used to live here in Charleston. I believe this is a model with Down syndrome. And it's not part of the thing. Like, it's not part of it's just these amazingly beautiful faces, these human faces, these human people, right? So back in the summer, they had us, let me see. Color Struck Part 1. I think it was this. I think this is it. Yeah, here I am.
I think you brought some really important things up, especially in terms of surveying the room to see not only what the talent looks like, but also like what does the support staff look like? Is it representative?
So I did this. Shout out Quincy right here in the middle. So I did this. It was a ball. I had a ball. I had a blast, and they broke it up into two pieces, right? I had a ball doing this, and they quoted me a price. I said that's fine for how many minutes I was given. I'm like, that's fine, and I was a moderator, right? So the real meat of the conversation comes from these models of different sizes, of different makeup, different looks, different hair textures, talking about their experiences in modeling, right, and colorism. And so I get the check, and they paid promptly too, right? I love a prompt check, or whatever it was, Venmo, whatever. And then I get a call back like, oh, we owe you more money, right? We owe you more money. And I'm like, oh, okay. What's your address? Okay, right? And it's just it's like they put a value on my thought leadership, and Charleston refuses to do that. I don't know, and that's a custom to continue to ask Black people to, hey, can you just help us shape this program, and we're not going to pay you. We're going to pay you in credentials and VIP passes. Fuck your pass. I can't put that pass in my gas tank at Costco. All right, so let me go back to this Bertrand piece from Current Affairs. So basically, it's begging this question about who actually gets to create Black pop culture. I'm bringing this up because I need white people who are watching this to understand how vast and how diverse Black thought leadership is, and how Black people, like, we're not a monolith, and there is class stratification. I know people like to serve up Blackness as one thing, right? They like to racialize poverty and shit like that. That real icky, sloppy shit, right? Lazy ass journalism. So Bertrand's piece is who actually gets to create Black pop culture. And then here, this little caption here says, a closer look at the economics of Black pop culture reveals that most Black creators outside music come from middle to upper middle class backgrounds, while the Black poor are written about but rarely get the chance to speak for themselves. And so even with me, right, I identify as cash poor. I identify as, a Black woman, daughter of Jim Crow refugees, right? That suggests some sort of class status, a specific class position, right? And so why is it important to share this with y'all in the broader context about the lack of diversity and how white storytellers tell our stories, is because this is also a level of complexities where it requires Black people to actually explore this. This, to me, requires Black writers, Black thinkers, Black philosophers, like whatever. It requires that. So I'm gonna play a little clip from the conversation that the Bad Faith podcast had, a conversation about Bertrand's piece, and Damon is actually on the opposite sits on the opposite side of this issue. From the author. The author is Bertrand Cooper. You'll see Bertrand. He's a very light-skinned black guy who's going to come up next on your screen. But let's just jump in real quick right here. Let me turn it up a little bit.
You know, I'm obviously generalizing, but between how black people in America and how white Americans live, is that when you're black and middle class, you are still connected to the hood. You still have family members. You still have cousins. You still maybe have your barber shop, your hair salon.
Let me actually rewind it back because they were, I think Bertrand, he dropped out or something. I think his signal dropped out. Let me see. No, we'll play it here. We'll play it from here.
You still have those connections, right? And so even if you grew up in the suburbs, you still, you don't have you don't divorce yourself completely from the neighborhood. Right, because and the thing is, you can divorce yourself completely because with us, a bad month could.
So they're having a conversation about like how connected are some of these middle class or upper middle class black writers? How connected are they to blackness, and where do they encounter blackness? So that's what he's explaining right here. That's kind of that's not what I really want to tackle. Let me.
As a white person who is middle class or living in the suburbs, and also with Atlanta, I don't think of that as necessarily a depiction of a subculture. I think of it as a depiction of just trying to strive. And if you remember in that show, Donald Glover's character was an Ivy League student.
Okay, here we go.
Was saying that,
this is where I want to go to the Donald Glover conversation, right? Because I know white folks love Donald Glover. I like Donald Glover too. But this is a very interesting conversation. Let me rewind it a little bit.
Dances on the Jimmy Fallon show.
We'll talk about that too.
There is a way that even if we can set, I don't want to say we because I'm not a cool 15-year-old TikToker, but they can set these cultural trends. It doesn't get them the same financial payoff or any kind of credit that will allow them to, grow their ability to have more reach the same way, let's say, an Ava DuVernay does. Bertrand, sorry, I know that you dropped. Let me catch you up. Damon was saying that, kind of pushing back a little against your article by pointing out that there are Black tastemakers who don't come from a kind of privileged elite class that exist in the form of these alternative media sources
and why this matters in terms of like how as they kind of unpack like these tastemakers, like who's creating pop culture. Why this matters is because typically what you see, especially in white media, especially here, you'll see white media gravitate toward a definition of blackness that really is not accurate or is a caricature of blackness or is just the most explicit expression of blackness, right? So I think it's important for y'all to hear conversations that black people have about not just class, but about who gets to make these stories, because these end up being the examples. These end up being the award-winning, the Emmy-winning, the Academy Award-winning properties that actually a lot of black people struggle with. Like a lot of black people struggle with, not just Cornel West, a lot of black women, black people, especially black authors, struggle with Ta-Nehisi Coates. Right? A lot of people, Bertrand also, I didn't even know till I watched like toward the end, Bertrand does as well, right? And a lot of people struggle with Ta-Nehisi Coates and his writing. And that's like, you can Google that and find that critique of him and his writing and his style and certain themes that he employs, right? But I think it's important for white folks watching this live stream to understand that what's typically lifted up is not really accurate or it got to the mainstream through this very gnarly process that erases the real tastemakers, which usually is maybe a queer black person or a black girl or a black woman, where a lot of these trends emerge and then become mainstream. And if not mainstreamed by white people, i.e. TikTok dancers, they become mainstream from this upper middle class black glitterati, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. But let me let Bertrand spit some bars.
TikTok, they just don't have the same kind of maybe financial backing of the institutional actors, but they still are out there and they exist. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I agree that they exist for sure.
Same.
In my ideal circumstance, me pointing out how rare it is for Black people raised beneath the poverty line to make it into the mainstream would be an impetus for people to dig deeper, look up folks, and find these TikTok creators who come from different backgrounds. The way things are right now, with this super tight association between Black skin and just the assumption of poverty, there really isn't any reason for you to dig deeper than just picking out Black authors in the Atlantic, the New York Times, going through the Hulu watch list that's already pre-made for you. I'm hoping my piece initiates some suspicion in audiences that would make them look deeper, look up folks, and start actually asking people, how do I find Black creators who are maybe using these alternative forms of media? Because I don't think right now that's on a lot of folks' radar.
Well, one of the most suspicious examples that you raised in your piece, Bertrand, that was, kind of compelling was the example of Donald Glover in Atlanta. Can you tell the audience a little bit about that take?
Sure. For anyone who's familiar with Donald Glover's career over a period of time, he originally came through as, a very prominent Black nerd. And the reason for that is because that is the culture that he knows well. He's from a middle-class background. His mother was a daycare worker. His dad's a military vet who worked at a post office. The family, was cleared to foster other children. He went to a performance arts high school and then went to New York's Tisch School of the Arts. And these are solidly middle-class credentials. But when he was given the chance to do a passion project, he does Atlanta, which features this, we don't normally use subculture when we're talking about Black America. We keep it very monolithic. But Atlanta features what is, to me, a Black subculture. It focuses very much on the Black poor and things surrounding them, projects, police violence, and hip-hop in particular. That's what he chose to create. It wasn't his own experience. And I just want to throw in on one of these points is like, earlier in his career, it's a talking point for him that's not really his experience. He has a comedy bit from like 2010 or so where he talks about when he was at the white high school, all the other white kids come up to him and want to ask him about rap and everything like that. And he's like, oh, I actually can't do that because I prefer I want to say he says the soulful stylings of the Cranberries. We could discuss that. And then the white kids don't like him. And he's, throughout most of his early interviews, has that conversation about how this hip-hop culture that features in Atlanta, all that poverty, all that, it's not really what he was immersed in. But it's what he created in Atlanta. It's what he won awards for. To me, in a lot of ways, it's what he got more awards for This Is America. And when he was interviewed, like when Atlanta was really blowing up, I believe this is the Times, but it may have been the New Yorker. When he's interviewed about that success, he says, as a Black person, to be successful, you have to sell the Black culture. Now, if you think of Black people as a monolith, that sense doesn't really bother you too much. But to me, I know that he doesn't come from the subculture of Black Americans, the Black poor, that he is selling to these audiences.
Again, why is this important? It's important for people, especially people who consume more mainstream, more corporate media, more mainstream content. It's important for you to understand the vastness and understand that these are the conversations that Black scholars are having, not just on Twitter either, but these are the conversations people, and if they're not having conversations like this high-minded, you employing this verbiage, what they are talking about, like just as simple as what Courtney lifted up in the chat, it was hard for her to connect with Between the World and Me, right? Yeah, it felt guilty for the longest time, but it wasn't for her. It wasn't for Courtney. That book is not for Courtney, and especially like the kind of criticism of Ta-Nehisi Coates. If white people are rushing to your shit and love your shit, you gotta then pivot to say what Black people thinking, right? And this is important because I think the Post and Courier, I think a lot of mainstream, not just them, of course, really view Black people as a monolith, and they don't have the range to examine Blackness. You don't even have the range. Post and Courier doesn't even have the range to indict white supremacy in real time. They love a retrospect. They love omitting, the details of slavery at a labor camp that just sold for a massive amount. Right? but they really cannot indict white supremacy for some reason. You know, the solicitor going up there in her opening comments and calling Walter Scott foolish for running from the cops, even though there's a whole industry around cops chasing down criminals. There's TV shows and chases and shit and movies all about that shit, because guess what? People don't want to be fucking arrested. I don't know. But anyway, you got the Post and Courier and the editorial board, like championing the most racist shit, and yet you can't even show any type of creativity in talking about the closing of the Chronicle. I honestly would. So this is where, just like when Gavin and Megan, when we talked about last week, Gavin from the SC Lead podcast and old girl Megan, what's her last name from the AP, right? The same thing I had to say about them is like, you missed an opportunity. You get caught up on somebody in the Twitter comments, tagging you and calling you out. You getting called out and feeling like coming off a little thin skin, right? Because you don't get any pushback. And that's the other problem. You got to start pushing back on these media members, like not just like stupid ass hate mail shit. Start pushing back publicly on they shit and pointing out. That's why what old girl did with that thread about Bonnie Hall was so brilliant, was because she was pointing out all the ways you fucked up and fumbled the story, the real story. But just like good morning, Kia. Just like with the whole SC League podcast call out that I did last week, you're so caught up in the critique and the dissent, you missed an opportunity to talk about the lack of diversity, to talk about what people are probably making contact with, which is not enough. They don't see enough of themselves in the coverage. They don't see enough of themselves in the reporters that cover these races. And the same thing could be argued with Adam Parker at the Post and Courier. Yeah, the Chronicle closes. What's on the new horizon? What's on the horizon? We know legacy media is dying, y'all. We know people are not getting their media from Nora O'Donnell at 6 o'clock. Maybe I am. Maybe me and my mom and my daddy's doing that, but not the vast majority of people, right? We know that people are not picking up the newspaper like they used to, right? People are not subscribed to newspapers. Shit is behind paywalls. People don't use their library card enough, right? So like, why would the story be, oh, it's so sad, the Chronicle's closing, it's so sad, oh, the Chronicle's closing, it's so sad, doom, despair, oh, another black paper bites the dust, oh, I wonder why these black papers can't. That ain't the fucking story. The story is what's on the horizon. What's on the horizon? Talk about all you fumbled so easily. How hard would it have been to go to Kaylin Orier down there doing the entertainment beat, right? Not a fan, but she there still. Well, how hard would it be for you to go to Kaylin Orier and ask her, like, so who's creating really, amazing content here in Charleston? What are people using? How are they leveraging TikTok? How are they leveraging IG? Who's got a constant presence? Who's critiquing things on YouTube? How hard would it be for you, Adam, to go to a fucking peer at your fucking paper, or I don't know, Google some shit, right? Talk to a niece or something, somebody's niece, somebody's daughter. Talk to somebody and find these other voices. They exist. They out here hustling, killing it, and busting their ass. And all you do is talk about you present the doom and despair because you don't see black people fully formed. You don't see us fully formed. You only see us as perpetual victims and passive actors in our own either history or present. And that's my biggest problem with the Post and Courier. And so when you have conversations like this, like, shit, mainstream is talking about representation and putting more chocolate chips in the fucking batter. I'm worried about, like, hey, what kind of chocolate chip is this? Wait a minute. Is this dark cacao? Because I don't like extra dark. Like, I just need milk, right? I'm worried about what kind of chips. Oop, I'm busting my mic again. I do not want to bust it. I'm worried about what kind of chocolate chips, what kind of mocha, caramel, butterscotch. I'm worried about what kind of stuff you putting in there, right? And not so much that you just putting in the representation. What kind? What flavor we going for? What flavor profile, right? That's what I'm worried about, and we can't have that conversation because we can't even talk about report on the Chronicle and the future of journalism. We can't even talk about that. Damn, the door's closing, yo. Damn, y'all ain't got no paper? There's a void? Fuck, what y'all gonna do? Bitch, we doing it. We doing it. Right? And again, like I might come at Quentin's close-ups because I didn't like how he did the rose palmetto rose peddlers, and I didn't like some other stuff too. you know, he awkward, and maybe some of that awkwardness is just like, you know, I gotta give him that. Like, maybe that's just how you get down, right? Because I'm awkward too, but like, not a big fan because of how it's being lifted up as like the model, right? But he exists. He's doing it, albeit with a digital camera, but he's doing it. He's doing it. Why not print it? Why not print it? Not a fan, but put it in there. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that conversation up because we're not having the elevated conversations when it comes to Black creativity and black media and how it, you know, it's non-traditional media, right, that exists here. And we're just, when you got an old white guy up here, now I don't know how old Adam is, but you got an older white guy, man of a certain age, out here trying to talk about media. The only thing you can reference is the Chronicle and other print. Like, you already, man, you struggling already. Like, your story already gonna be buns. Because you don't have any vision at all. And then for whatever reason, y'all can't put my name in the Yeah, I wrote an op-ed and it was published, yeah. But let me tell you something. Okay. Yeah, I had an op-ed about Sheriff Graziano and was published. What y'all don't know is that I had help with the editing. Shout out Jessica. And what you don't know is I asked for help on how to get it published. I didn't just send it in like regular degular. Right, I asked a former reporter at the Post and Courier, how do I kind of up my chances on getting this published, and she told me what to do. So I don't know, like, after that, if there were any types of discussions about should you or not. I don't know that. I didn't, you know, I felt like the piece was engaged as soon as I sent it. So my point is, like, it wasn't just, Mika just wrote about Sheriff Graziano and it. I had some help. And I think that needs to be told as part of the story as well. Like, who to send it to, how to phrase it, how to literally got guidance on who to address it to, how many people, what to put in the subject line, period. Like, I got literally, this is what you need to do, copy and paste what I just. So it's not just, they print you, they pick and choose, and it's really weird, but they never pick and choose. They never really print the dissent. They never really printed dissent, right? Not really, not consistently. All right, so there was some other things I wanted to talk about, but let's get back to the whole framing of Meltdown and Dixie. And again, this kind of there's somebody working outside. If y'all hear like a grounds crew over that, not grounds crew. If you hear landscapers. My mic is I hear it loud in my ear, so I don't know if y'all hear it. But the framing, again, this all blends together with the whole, like, how Adam Parker and how his peers, his white peers, tend to frame questions, tend to frame stories around, frame stories that deal with white supremacy or Black people, Black culture. So we just want to watch a little bit of this. We watched the trailer, but let's just watch a little bit of Meltdown and Dixie.
It all began with a Confederate flag flying next to an ice cream parlor. The owner of the shop is not happy.
That flag is not mine. It's a piece of property that the Confederate veterans owned.
A battle erupts within the community.
The Confederate battle flag is the soldiers' flag, our ancestors. That's why we're so proud of it.
It stands for racism, slavery, hatred.
Meltdown in Dixie on America Reframed.
My name is Tommy Darris. We're in Edisto River Creamery.
I'm getting hungry.
Quarter pounders, all beef. When I bought the creamery, I saw it was in a beautiful park. I said, what's not to like?
What kind of ice cream, honey, did you want? Enjoy, baby. Thank you.
Side note, I remember like coming back, like when I came down to the South as a kid, I wasn't as sensitive to it. But when I came back, like from college break and shit like that, all the women like calling you honey and baby and stuff. Like you learn in like other places that you know when they say that it's a cute thing. I'm not bothered by it. If an old lady calls me baby or honey sugar at a barbecue spot or a creamery, I'm not offended. But it's just weird how like not weird, but it's remarkable how like people do that a lot, and how religion, you can see I don't know if y'all can make out the crosses in the back, and there's messages, there's Bible study, they hold Bible study here. It's just crazy how like how faith and that type of Southern type of charm is just so like, it's just out there. Hey baby, hey honey, no problem, sweetie.
But if I could rewind this whole situation, I would have never came to South Carolina in the first place. Made a little ice cream shop to sell ice cream cones in a park. And here I am in the middle of this crap.
Battle over a Confederate flag in Orangeburg.
The flag flies atop this pole right next to the sign for the Edisto River Creamery.
But the flag is not owned by this ice cream parlor. The sons of Confederate veterans own the tiny piece of property where the flag stands.
That's crazy.
That flag is not mine. It's a piece of property that the Confederate veterans owned.
Initially, Darris accepted the flag, but that changed in the aftermath of the 2015 church shooting in Charleston.
Breaking news.
A mass shooting in downtown Charleston.
9 people have been killed after a shooting inside a historic African-American church in Charleston.
The white man is under arrest. Dylan, the Justice Department is investigating the murders as a hate crime.
Investigations into Dylan Roof uncovered a photo of him posing with a Confederate flag.
These Confederate symbols now are at the center of a bitter debate about how we define our past as we move forward as a nation.
Exactly, Jessica.
After the Charleston shooting, the Confederate veterans came down with a flag that was 3 times as large as one that they've ever had on there. Windows were broken out. I was fist fighting with people in the parking lot. They were screaming at me, calling me a racist. I said, something's got to happen.
After nearly 20 years.
I have a question. So they own the property. That's why you can't take the flag down, right? And that's essentially that's at the crux of this documentary. But like, if they own the flag part in the very tip, couldn't you on your property just put up like a some sort of like, everything from one of those inflatable like car dealership things to like some sort of tube or something? Like, I would have obscured the shit out of that flag. I don't know. I would have found a way to obscure it. I don't know. Yeah, them white men singing Dixie. It's a lag.
There's a flying. The Confederate battle flag is being removed from an Orangeburg business.
It's a disgrace in 2016 that we got this thing standing up here welcoming everybody to Orangeburg.
We're just hoping that today will be the day that this flag will come down in Orangeburg, South Carolina.
Oh, there has been a racial divide here in this city, and seeing this flag come down, it will let the city know that we're not divided, we're coming together.
He's going to be told not to take it down. He's a damn Yankee.
They always go for that Yankee shit.
That flag is coming down.
No, it ain't.
You're using this flagpole in your political agenda. Your whole organization, I'm going to call racist.
You need to go back where you come from.
I come from Maryland, sir, and that's
Maryland.
south. I'm south of the Mason-Dixon line.
Technically.
I'm as Southern as anybody here, and as proud as anybody here to be that.
But you sure don't sound like it.
Explain to me why you put the huge flag up there after the crisis in Charleston.
Let me tell you a couple.
Did y'all hear that? So the guy says, you're not Southern. He's like, no, I'm from Maryland. That's below the Mason-Dixon line, which is true. And then he was like, you don't sound like it. This also like what a lot of these documentaries do not talk about is how white people with these beliefs conflate being Southern with white identity only. Like, that's it. You don't sound Southern. What do you mean he don't sound Southern? What do you mean? Like, he almost felt like he wanted to say you sound like a black person because typically it's the black people that have this issue. But the way they conflate Confederate belief systems and embracing the Confederacy, the way they conflate that with Southern identity and how Southern white identity, is remarkable to me.
Couple things. Those pictures of Dylan Roof, we're not 100% sure that they were legit.
So you remember January 6th and now this shit. He's saying that Dylan Roof didn't have a Confederate flag. Sweetie Bob, Dylan Roof was on McLeod Plantation. Dylan Roof was all over here, down here, all these historical sites. That's not the one that the fact that they're grasping at ways to like the way they're grasping at excuses as to why the hate monger is carrying that flag is fucking pathetic. We know those Dylan Roof pictures are real. He had a whole manifesto, Chief. We don't know if those pictures are real, but the sowing seeds of doubt is part of white supremacy. That's it. It don't have to be accurate. Just put that in the media, and that's it. But my whole thing is like, I don't really need to hear from Boss Hogg. I don't really need to hear from Jethro. Not the way they kind of let him go. I think you need to know him, know who he is and how, because he is the voice. He is the voice throughout this documentary, the loudest and the most consistent. But the way they give him equal footing is very troubling to me.
But we want it on our property. Why should we compromise? For the good of the community.
What do you mean community? This is our community right here.
I would have never said 5-10 years ago that I thought that was the most
What the fuck was that dude wearing army shit for?
Standing here on this corner talking to these people, I feel these people's heart.
We want our flagpole left alone.
And we're going to let a judge decide that.
Well, fine.
Are you still going to try to take it down?
Absolutely. There will be no stopping me at this point.
I don't know if I like the name either.
We came down here because of the fishing and the nice people we met. And then my wife Debbie and I got bored, and this little restaurant looked like a good opportunity. It belonged to Maurice's barbecue shop, and it was distressed and in need of repair. Wasn't worried about the rebel flag. I never deemed that as racist. I mean, it was history to me, and
right,
it was
Jessica?
cool because it was like a rebel flag. That meant to us in Maryland that you were against the grain. You were a bad.
I don't know about that.
When I lived in Maryland, I was a race car driver. We had a rebel flag, not on the car, but we had a flagpole by the race car, especially when we go up north, because we were the guys from down south, the guys to beat. I was cleaning out my closets, found it in the closet. I would wear this in public, anywhere I went without a problem. When it became what it is today, my wife had said that there was no place for that on a race team. I'm not a racist by any means, or a hater. The closet was probably the best place for it.
Or a vat of acid.
My name is Buzz Braxton, and I'm Lieutenant Commander at Rivers Bridge, Sons of Confederate Veterans, Camp 842.
Why do they give themselves these military distinctions? The commander, you ain't leading shit. These fake ass Captain Crunches, like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I'm the what commander? I'm sorry, I try to remind you a little bit. Oh,
I'm not a racist by any means, or a hater.
I should have used that button. Hold on.
The closet was probably the best place for it.
Thank you, D.
My name is Buzz Braxton, and I'm Lieutenant Commander at Rivers Bridge, Sons of Confederate Veterans.
Yeah, they get this dude way too much screen time. I ain't gonna lie. Again, he's the most prominent voice, but there's a way they position it, y'all. There's the reason why I'm not watching this, so I should subject y'all to like some mid-ass like documentary. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna have a larger conversation around how we frame this, even this discussion, right? And I think that the filmmakers missed an opportunity to talk about the flag and its origins more, not just take the history from their mouths, but to talk about the flag from a historian, whatever. But again, I think the filmmakers are trying to just say, hey, here's this side, here's that side. Which one do you believe? And you can't do that because you're positioning them both as equals. They're not. There's one that's for racism. There's somebody who's against this racist symbol. Even though he got there a little late, he eventually arrived at the conclusion, oh, this not just bad for business. This is not a good look, especially after Mother Emanuel when they put up a flag that was even bigger. So you knew what that was about, right? So like, but call it out and shout out to shout out to D for your observation. What's this? Oh, shout out to D for your observation about whiteness, because whiteness loves to conflate the military and heritage. Exactly that. There was something else I was going to say about this. Oh, Jessica, you made me laugh. You said the commander of bacon grease. So I have a friend. He's in my fantasy football league. He's a white guy from Pittsburgh, but I met him in Philly when I used to be an executive with Target. And so in Philly, there's these men. I think they kind of draw upon some kind of military affiliation, but they were protecting the Christopher Columbus statue. And my friend Greg, to your, and keeping in the same vein as what you just said, Jessica, he calls them the Gravy Seals instead of the Navy SEALs. It's so fucking funny. It's like they're out there trying to like protect this Columbus statue. Like, dude, just chill out. Like, it's not that deep. But Gravy Seals, commander of bacon grease. It's just weird. They give themselves all this shit. I'm like, look like you're just a retiree that really enjoys. This is your hobby.
Camp 842. This is General Robert E. Lee.
I can smell it.
Probably the greatest man to ever walk the face of this earth. A lot of people don't understand the sons of Confederate veterans. You got people, the first words out of their mouth is racist. The Confederate battle flag is the soldiers' flag, our ancestors. That's why we're so proud of it.
To you, sons of Confederate veterans, we submit the vindication of the cause for which we fought. It is your duty to see that the true history of the South is presented to future generations. And that's what we try to do. And it's a tough job.
There's a picture of Maurice Betchen. We was down there right where the flagpole is,
good old Maurice,
selling Confederate stuff, and Maurice was with us.
I'm Maurice Bessenger, chairman of the board of Piggy Park Enterprise Incorporated. The South shall rise again.
I knew Mr. Maurice. He was a member of this camp. He owned and operated 9 barbecue restaurants in South Carolina, and one in Orangeburg, too.
After almost 4 decades and a bitter debate, South Carolina removed the Confederate
flag from the South Carolina State House Saturday.
After 38 years, the flag began its descent down the flagpole.
July the 1st, 2000, the flag was taken off the dome in Columbia.
I raised the flag out here on the big pole to protest the taking down of our heritage flag.
It went up in Orangeburg that same day. I was his biggest supporter when that happened. Mr. Maurice called me one day and asked me if we would like to have the little piece of property where the flag is. I feel sure he knew that the sons of Confederate veterans would fly the flag, and that was one less thing he needed to worry about. Charleston was a very tragic night in more ways than one. The whole emphasis changed from 9 dead folks to the flag. I said, if the flag is going to be under attack, bigger the better.
Hey, Tommy, what's up, man? Yeah, some of this stuff is like relatively uncharted waters. Tommy reached out and said, hey, look, I'm having some issues on my property. Can you take a look? I remember as a kid riding to Orangeburg with my grandparents, and back then it was Maurice's Piggy Park restaurant.
Piggy Park?
Maurice put a sign up in his restaurant that says, yeah, the government may say we have to serve, but we're going to take that money and give it to the KKK. You knew, as a minority, you're not welcome there. When Tommy and his...
How many of y'all, like, for real, if you black and you live in Charleston, I remember back in high school, I remember the Confederate flag, Bessingers and Maurice, right? Both places were problematic. Maurice, who had the Confederate flag on the barbecue sauce bottle? Was that Maurice? Right? I think it was Maurice. He put the Confederate flag on the bottle. But, like, how many of y'all have had that conversation growing up, or like your time in Charleston, like, oh, we don't go to Maurice's? Like, that was something I learned back in the 90s when I moved down here. And like, yeah, we're not going to Maurice's. Like, you're gonna have to find barbecue somewhere else, but it ain't gonna be Maurice's. And it's just like, yeah, I remember that. I remember those conversations at cookouts at home about why you don't go to Maurice's. I got a very thorough education in how damn resilient this damn Confederate flag and its iconography, how resilient the symbolism is and will always be, right? And again, I'm kind of reserving a little commentary because I want y'all to take it in a little bit. But
his wife bought that property. The flag was there. They knew it was there. What they didn't know was what the culture was like here in South Carolina, more specifically in Orangeburg. Smiling faces, beautiful places. That's all true here, but the racial dynamic is different.
Orangeburg is a majority African-American town.
It's 60% black, according to the 2010 census. Well, that makes me a minority.
There is a racial divide in Orangeburg, and I guess that's got a lot to do with the history. I feel like they sometimes feel like we've done something wrong to them, even though that's happened years ago.
And see, when you frame, okay, now I'm gonna stop playing this because I'm getting heartburn and I don't want to have heartburn. So when you frame, and shout out to the filmmakers, I think they tried and they did all right, and this does span many years, right? It starts as early as 2015 and brings you relatively to the present day. But what I really want to stop and just kind of say is that this is the problem with the whole both sidesism. And you might be like, well, Mika, is that fair and accurate if you omit some of the pro flag sentiment? No, maybe not omit it, but you have to make sure that that's not the dominant voice, because it's not a cogent. Racism is not a cogent political point of view. It's not real. It's not the same as being conservative. Racism, white supremacy is not the same. It's not like, you know what? I think I've had libertarian views. Oh, you know what? I have neo-Confederate. No. Neo-Confederate is not a thing that we need to recognize. And I think that what they could have done better is bring in a scholar to talk about the history of the flag, to talk about, and they do talk about the Articles of Secession later. And then that guy that says that Dylann Roof was photoshopped with the flag, that guy says that, well, it's in there, but it ain't the main reason why we seceded. Like, he does that bullshit tap dance, right? But you need to have somebody in here who presents the truth, the history, like irrefutable history. You have to present that, and you have a right, not a right. You have a duty to present the historical facts. And this documentary just does this thing where I'm just going to I'm going to say this thing, and he's going to say this thing, and that's it. And they're leaving it up to you to make a decision. It's somebody, I don't know, I'm not a filmmaker per se, but I do think that if you're going to talk about history, you're going to talk about, like they said in the synopsis, if you're going to talk about the broader role of Confederate symbolism in the 21st century, you had no one help come and contextualize that. No one in this documentary contextualizes this, right? And so it's just that whole both sides of them. Tamika, you started off talking about Adam Parker, and you started off like talking about which voices are allowed to tell these stories. This is part of the problem. This is media. This is part of the problem. And the way they use Mother Emanuel, I'm always very sensitive. I'm hypersensitive to how Mother Emanuel was used. I don't think it was used inappropriately here, but it's always used in a way that's like doesn't really communicate enough of what that moment really meant. And what, to me, sometimes they throw it in there and they don't really do it. They don't really do it justice. And you did see the Black public speak up, and you saw glimpses of Black people, and you'll see more voices of Black descent throughout the special. And that's good. That's good. But again, it's just like the Black response to whiteness. I would love to hear from more white people who actually, outside of the owners, because both the wife and the husband, they made the calculation, because you saw that he was a fan of the flag. He was wearing the flag. He had a flag on a race car, right? It took the murder of 9 people for him to say, oh, maybe this flag ain't really that. Maybe that flag ain't really what it's supposed to. Took him a minute. But nonetheless, he got there, right? He got there. But all they do is show you the 2 white shop owners and Justin Bamberg, but the 2 white shop owners as the predominant white, the voice of white people who are actually against the flag. Are there more white voices that are against the flag? Are there? I would have loved to see that too. But it's just some interesting thing. It's not like a complete loss. You'll become informed as to who were the people who fighting for this. Justin's effort. I thought Justin Bamberg's efforts to fight this from the perspective of confronting this issue from a zoning perspective. I thought that was, or from a zoning position, I thought that was smart. So, hey, how can we legally get this flag down? Well, this area is zoned for commercial use and yada, yada, yada. And I'll let you watch the documentary so you can see what happens. I also think they fumbled when in that not talking about the Heritage Act and how white supremacy is pervasive in our policy making, and so that these symbols can endure. So what makes these symbols endure is not just the adamance of a group of men who meet in a cinder block hangout, a honeycomb hideout somewhere in the woods. That's not just why these symbols endure. These symbols endure because we have institutions and structures. We got the literal former president of College of Charleston, is a huge Civil War enthusiast, right? Confederate enthusiasts, right? So you've got people in high positions, you've got lawmakers who actually enact policy. So if you're going to explore the broader role of the Confederate symbolism, you got to explore the very systems that keep propping it up. But this is the problem, though. So when you create stories, when you tell stories around race in the South, and you've got Southern, I don't know the makeup of the filmmakers, but judging by how this product is so similar to the downing of the flag product, I'm gonna suggest that there were people from this state heavily involved in this production, and it continues to do this both sides shit that I hate. It continues to value objectivity way more than honesty, than historical accuracy. And to me, that has a greater impact on how people here culturally respond to Black issues, right? How people respond to Black grievance when it's justified, when it's right? To me, it shapes that, and we got to stop acting like white supremacy is actually a political point of view. It's not. It's not. If you don't believe in my humanity, if you feel like I'm less human than you, if you feel like I'm all these stereotypes, right? If you feel like I'm an animal, a savage, a brute, a Jemima, a Rastus, a mammy, if you're wedded to those ideas, those very hateful, limited views of Blackness, how the hell am I going to give you equal time? And when we keep doing that in the interest of objectivity, people suffer. That I'm just going to say, like, I think in some instance, objectivity, when you pursue it this crazy, it's overrated. Like, this is, to me, went too far. Like, you keep putting the mic in this man. He's literally laughing. Like, I'm gonna see if I can find that. He's like literally, oh, you can't see it. He's literally like gloating when talking about using the N-word. Like, he's very satisfied when talking about how he views Black people as the N-word, right? Let's see if we get a little bit more.
Fly. I hope it will continue to fly forever.
So they just won a court case, so they're celebrating.
How
come their arteries don't get clogged up? All that hate and fat, and y'all just be living a ripe old age.
These were brave men that fought in this war. Most of them were volunteers. And, don't need to forget them. They're like any other war hero. They fought for a cause they believed in.
I made a promise to an old dying man that I'd keep it alive, and that was my grandfather, and I've done it ever since.
Oh, I did?
Yeah. That's a tall order, though.
Our goal is to preserve the good name of the Confederate soldier. You can't pay a lot of attention to what you see in the news media. Don't read any modern books because they're extremely slanted. But if you read the original accounts, you'll find the real reasons that both sides fought.
I wish I was in the land of cotton. Old times there are not forgotten. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. In Dixie.
It's negative when you see people that preach hate flying that flag. It is not anything that the sons of Confederate veterans enjoy seeing.
And I wish I was in Dixie. Hooray, hooray. In Dixie.
The second coming of the Klan used the battle flag. And then some groups now carry a swastika and a battle flag. Well, I mean, we cannot control everybody. It got misappropriated.
Oh, okay.
But that does not mean that it wasn't honorable when those men from 1861 to 1865 carried it.
It's heritage, it's a symbol of the South. It's part of Dixie.
Segregation has been over for a while, and something like that to still be appearing in a small town like this, it's still creating division.
Why take it down? The blacks ought to be proud of that flag that they fought under. They were just like the whites.
It stands for racism, slavery, hatred.
It needs to come down, right, along with all these other statues and symbols of supremacy. They need to come down.
Good morning, may I help you? Good, how are you?
All right, yeah, because then I get upset. I'm literally slack-jawed. I'm watching, like, I forgot that I'm live streaming. I'm just, like, watching it again. Right, D? Like, we just want to control black people. We can't control the Nazis and skinheads who use our flag. We just want to control black people. Tell them what to think. Yeah, it's so glaringly, I think, I know I'm preaching to the converted here, but it's so glaringly, like, obviously just bad, right? And not because I don't think we're a monolith here. I think, of course, we all share some of the same sensibilities, but I know we don't all see the same issues the same way, right? And especially if you're not black, like, there's no way you can feel what this feels like. But I say all that to say, like, it just, I think anyone, if you plop somebody from England over here and just say, hey, watch this, it just sounds weird. It sounds really weird to be this married to these symbols and to continue, like, don't read any modern books. What you mean don't read any modern books? What are you talking about? What? Unless they're written by somebody, like, it's just really weird that this rejection of education, this rejection of history, right? And then he says, oh, just read the old stuff. Oh, like the Articles of Secession? Like, read that? Because that pretty much, that kind of speaks to our point, right? If we read the Articles of Secession, that ain't new. That ain't in a new book. But yeah, like that rejection of historical study, like that's bananas to me, right? Right. So anyway, I think the way these things are framed is important. I think, we have to stop trying to be too objective for fear of what being one-sided. Look, a documentary already has an agenda. Let's keep it real. And even this has an agenda. Like, it's really makes you sympathetic toward the ice cream shop owner. It does. So if you are like I don't know why we act like documentaries, even the ones I like, even the ones I know, yeah, they got an agenda. They do. I'll be dumb. So if you already know that, then go ahead and just lean in. Stop giving white supremacists the same footing. I don't care what they eat. I don't like with Kia. Like they was very bland looking. I ain't see any color. I ain't see anything red. I ain't see nothing flavorful, seasoned in there. But nah, it's just really weird to just constantly just show that perspective. And here in the South, I feel like in this state, let me just say that in this state, it feels like that's important to continuously drive home black these issues in these very unnuanced, very uncomplicated ways that are really, they do more damage. Trying to be objective, trying to be in the middle, you do more damage. So I wanted to, this is my last article. This is my last free article. There's ways around that, honey. But this is an interesting piece written by Nick Martin back in November of 2019. The enduring battle to diversify historical reenactment. White history is still normalized. Non-white history is seen as provocative. And I think that's another thing that I'm not saying that the piece should have covered black reenactment of rebellion or slave revolts, but talk about the absence of black people in this history. You know, from the Confederacy standpoint, there were some other things that I thought were interesting. Not everybody, if you didn't know before today, not everyone loves Ta-Nehisi Coates. There was a lot of pieces written back in 2017 and 2015, especially after his books came out. But so just I think it is important for white people not to view us as a monolith and start reading some black criticism. You know what really got me into black critique and black criticism actually was a couple years ago. I started to dig into the black artist Romare Bearden and how he was super critical of art institutions that were like lifting up inferior, what he deemed as inferior black talent. And he would I don't know if he would be eviscerating in his critique, but he was definitely like, he wasn't playing. And I like lifting up that because, and I like lifting that up in this broader conversation about what's missing in our media landscape, because I do feel as if at first you don't understand that blackness is capable of achieving, of thinking, just if you're not willing to understand how far black thought, black creativity can go, you can't cover it, you can't talk about it, right? And also people don't study enough of black criticism. James Baldwin used to critique other black writers. W.E.B. Du Bois, of course, used to critique other black writers and creators. Romare Bearden critiqued other artists. They are all imperfect, but the fact that black people disagreeing publicly, it exists, and that's something that's not lifted up either here. You don't get to see these dissent. And I'm not talking about a black conservative talking to a black liberal or a black leftist. That's not. That's the bullshit. That's the fake ass kabuki theater WWE shit. I'm talking about thoughtful dissenting black opinion, right? Why is that important? Because again, I feel like we're covered and we're presented to the masses in this very flat way that doesn't give you nuance, doesn't give you dimension, and it doesn't show our full capabilities. And I think that's important. The reason why I have this up here, I listened to the first few minutes of this morning. Again, I listened to this when it came out on Code Switch. It was like a decade of watching black people die. And that even made me think about having this conversation about the press and their inability to really see black people as dynamic figures with varying opinions and political beliefs and whatnot. And I thought about like how white folk, especially in the last, I would say 5 or 6 years, with my work and where I've been and my experiences, the way black people engage with the way white people engage with blackness or issues with white supremacy is baffling to me sometimes. I want to say this again. I'm going to start communicating this more because I'm getting a lot more of it. I don't have any use for white guilt. That's not why. There's some people out here who make money off white guilt. I'm not trying to make white people feel bad. If you feel bad, that's on you, and deal with that. There's therapists, I'm sure, counselors, a husband, partner, dogs. There's all kinds of things you can use to help you get through your fifis, right? But I don't have any utility for white guilt. Why is that important here? Because I think a lot of white people, their pursuit of trying to figure out and unpack their white supremacy starts with guilt, and they don't really understand how useless white guilt is to people like myself. I don't need you to feel guilty. I really just need to see you activated, or just hopefully you'll get activated. I don't really care about like, oh, it's so hard. My husband just doesn't. I don't care. So I think about how like these recent images from the protests of 2020 specifically, how they've really shaped the way white people kind of engage with race and racial issues. And I think it's difficult. Yeah, I want to click on this article. Shout out Jamil Smith. Oh shit. That's my last New Republic article. I'll see if I can use my library card. But he wrote a piece. What does seeing black men die do for you, right? All right. So I don't know. I don't think I want to play it. It's just really because it's tough. It's tough, and I don't really want to do it. But I think y'all should go back and listen to this too, because I think that just seeing black people in a perpetual state of fear, trauma, abuse, I think that fucks with people as well and creates a certain kind of response from mainstream white media. That's really sad. Like they hone in or focus in on the trauma porn part of it, right? So there's a piece also, Who Gave You the Right to Tell That Story? 10 authors on the most divisive question in fiction and the times they wrote outside of their identities. I think this is a good thing to read as well. This was back in October 2019. I think we should talk about that when we talk about appropriation, talk about a lot of things like that. I think reading things like this is important as well, from Vulture, right? This was interesting. So like, yeah, black people don't just like everything that comes out. For those, I did not watch it because of I let the critics, the black critics, pretty much tell me what time it was with this. But there was a series that debuted on Amazon, I think earlier this year, called Them. I'm not a fan of Miss what's her name? Where's she at? Lena Waithe. Yeah, Lena Waithe, right? But yeah, so Them came out and immediately black Twitter, black pop culture started having this discourse, whether it's online or in other spaces, about who wants to watch black pain. More black storytellers are turning to the horror genre to unpack the traumas of racism, but some viewers are growing tired of these stories. I think Them, from what I hear, I didn't watch Them, so I can't really give my perspective, but from what I hear, Them misses the mark and really overemphasizes black pain and trauma. And then the movie Antebellum, which I did watch, gratuitously violent. So much violence visited upon black women's bodies. It was ridiculous. And I didn't get how that even advanced the story a little bit, right? I get a little gore, I get violence, but it's like that's a new fetish now. Like it has to be very gruesome, over the top. And so like it's important. I really do I want my viewers, I want people who engage with my content to start mining for these critical voices, because a lot of stuff that y'all run to, I'm talking to white people right now, a lot of stuff that y'all run to is surfacey and Trey Buns. Not all y'all, I'm generalizing. I want to revisit this thread again too, because I think this is important. A lot of the criticism I'm expressing is regarding how like it feels like black people are robbed of their agency, they're robbed of their autonomy, of all kinds of autonomy, and it just puts us in this place where we're really like we're reacting to things versus it doesn't really lift up other like our proactive stances on issues, right? Shout out, thank you, Kia, thank you. Yeah, Lena Waithe. Thank y'all for helping me out. But yeah, so I want to revisit this thread too, because again, I think when things like those documentaries are made, people think that that's just a positive good. Oh, it talks about this flag. It talks about how problematic this flag is. Oh, it talks about how the flag came down. And it's like, that's not enough. I'm insatiable. I ain't gonna lie. I'm perpetually curious. I'm one of those people. Like, I'm one of those people that just ask why. And it's weird. I didn't realize I was doing that until I started talking and conversing with y'all via this chat or whatever it is. That I was like, I didn't realize how curious I was. And I think a lot of times the stuff that makes it to our television screens is very, 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 very palatable. So I like to go to this thread because to me it just sums up. To me, I hope people start digging deeper and stop going for New York Times bestsellers, stop going for lists, stop going to, and this is the other problem I have with Adam's page, Adam's piece. It's like he lifts up Charleston BLM, and I do think BLM deserves recognition and they need to be notated, but in that context, no, they didn't. They're not a media presence, right? But also, that's how people get their black. See, that's the thing I try to break out of is I don't want you coming to Charleston Activist Network to get your daily fix of, oh, this thing is trending on Twitter. Let me see what Tamika thinks. I used to do that. I did. I don't do that no more. I talk about what I want to talk about, how I want to talk about. If I want to talk about a creamery and a Confederate flag, I'm going to talk about a creamery and a Confederate flag. I'm not, or I'm going to talk about personal experience or something like that, right? I just want people to dig deeper. So by Adam Parker being so fucking lazy and just like saying, hey, the paper is closing, this 50-year paper is closing, but this account with over 10,000 followers that says blackity black shit, you can go there and look and further creating a need for this like memification of black issues, of issues surrounding oppression, so on and so forth, instead of like encouraging them to go to a more thoughtful space, right? So you're shepherding people to a space that not because I don't want BLM to get followers or get recognition. Get that. Geechee Experience was also mentioned. Get that. I want them all to succeed, thrive, all that. Sky's the limit, shoot for the stars, all that shit, right? But they are not media voices, and they're not creating content that performs any type of journalistic function. And that's not a bad thing. It's just a distinction I'm making. And so when you shepherd people to a space from those people who are looking for a home, and you shepherd them to another space, right? It's like, what are you doing? You have a responsibility as a journalist to make sure that you tie up that loose end, and they didn't. Adam didn't, and that was intentional. Like, no longer am I under the impression that this stuff just happens, right? We've been off that. We've been off that, right? Okay. Twitch be peer pressuring y'all to share, to buy subs? I'm sorry. I didn't know that. I don't have any. Okay. Well, thank you for the sub. So this thread right here by Dr. Rhea Boyd, I go to it often. Because it presents a different perspective. So stop reading White Fragility, stop recommending it, stop sharing it, right? And I'm just gonna keep going to read Killing the Black Body or Fatal Invention by Dorothy Roberts. Read Racecraft by Barbara and Karen Fields. Read Medical Apartheid, right, by Harriet Washington. Oh yeah, she was good. We watched Now This clip with her in it, right? When we talked about Black bodily autonomy after the Texas abortion ban. Read The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. Read Sister Citizen, please read this, by Melissa Harris Perry. Read The Push Out by Monique Morris, right? So here it says, White Fragility caters to readers who want controlled self-flagellation. This is reason why this one tweet in this thread is probably the chief reason why I'm sharing this thread again, in the context of how our media presents our issues and addresses our community. So White Fragility caters to readers who want controlled self-flagellation for their complicity and participation in systems that deeply harm folks of color and black folks in particular. So with that, right, that surface level grab for the popular book written by a white person at that, that to me is part of a larger practice. Shout out new follower. Part of a larger practice of how can white folks kind of like, how can they feel like they're doing something and unpacking their white supremacy? without really doing it. And I love the use the phrase, the controlled self-flagellation. I think a lot of things when mainstream media encounters, when mainstream media tries to tackle, social justice and confront it in some way, shape, or form, what I've seen happen, especially, and I know I've seen this especially around Women's March, my organizing around Women's March, is just the white majority of folks who participate want easy. And that's why, like, I'm losing a lot of followers on IG here and there. Like, it goes up and down. Like, I went down to 10.4 to 10.3. I'm not giving convenience to you. I'm not letting you off the hook. I'm telling you that giving me $5 on Venmo, giving me $500 on Venmo is not enough. That's not even what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to really go and dismantle these systems and actively try to dismantle these systems using your privilege. And I think what white fragility does, it justifies and explains away. And like Rhea Boyd says, it caters to readers who want that type of like easy fix, as opposed to really doing some deep work. And it also puts people in a position where they're not listening to black women who've been writing about this forever, writing about this forever. Like, whatever date you got in your head, black women was talking about this before that. Whatever date you got in your head, whatever person you got, whatever image, I can guarantee you I can find someone in history who challenged, who tackled gender and gender and the intersection with race and all those other complicated issues. See Ida B. Wells as a suffragette. See Sojourner Truth. See Phyllis Wheatley. Okay. So the next tweet says, I feel like I've liked this over and over again. Why does it never show likes? I could have sworn that's weird. Okay. So the next tweet in here says, the intersecting forms of violence that shorten black lives do not come from a social, economic, and political position of fragility. I love this part too, right? It's not about fragility. So she's rejecting the premise of the book, right? And the use of the term fragility in this context, right? The intersecting forms of violence that shorten black lives do not come from social, economic, or political position of fragility. It comes from forces outlined in these books, the books that she talked about. Then read the book y'all really need to put on y'all list, This Bridge Called My Back. Okay? All right. Read This Bridge Called My Back to understand why I shouldn't even have to say this. I love that, right? And to the folks of color and black women in particular who are being asked to be everything for everyone right now, to work, to teach, support, right? She says, I see you. And that's great. That acknowledgement is important. But yeah, like I think a lot of these stories, I think the way that the Post and Curry positions these retrospects, it lets white people off the hook. It even exonerates whiteness. It exonerates whiteness. It exonerates white supremacy. It continues to let people off the hook, especially when you only deal with black issues in the retrospect, when you don't deal with it in the present or the future. And you only talk about the demise of black cultural strongholds. You only talk about the demise of a black paper, the demise of a black school, the demise of black leadership at the ports. That's all you specialize in is black despair, gloom, and doom. And you don't lift up forward thinking or dissenting black voices, especially ones that are like really strong ones. And what it does is perpetuates this. I know I'm saying the same shit over and over and over again, y'all, but it perpetuates this bullshit that like black people are just in this boat that we can't get out of. And that's not true. That I wouldn't be doing this every morning, right? Let me lift up my favorite quote from Bell Hooks. Let me see if I can find it. No, not that. Let me see. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, stop it. Let me just find it. I'm acting like I don't have it like in different forums. Yeah, I used to tweet this, but somebody else tweeted it good, right? And that's not Audre Lorde, that was Bell Hooks. That's really weird that they did that in 2014. It was Bell Hooks. White supremacy worships at the throne of black mediocrity, right? they really messed it up. I can't give you no shine because you messed it up. That's bell hooks. But yeah, y'all know my favorite quote. Let me see if I can find it. Hold up. And I think that's the other part too. And this is not saying that. Shout out BLM who reached out too when I was upset yesterday. Shout out to Marcus who reached out. But no, it's like I'm not calling Geechee Experience or any of them mediocre at all. That's not even what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that it's funny how like they will reach for something that's not even what it needs to be in terms of like representation and whatnot. All right, let me see. Little Mom, you says, let me see. We need to come for our own right. Is it possible? Susanna says, plus it's inherent. Susanna, you said something first. Sonia Renee Taylor had a great critique too. It reinforces the idea that whiteness is weak and vulnerable. Yes, while blackness is strong and resilient. Say word. Susanna, you went on to say, plus it's inherent conflict of interest for white people to make money from anti-racism work. Right. And that's a big thing. You know what? And I'm not saying I don't want to downplay my shit, but like it's just God damn it. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Get out of here. Get out of here. All right, I'm still trying to find it. But no, I think you hit it out the park. I'm glad you lifted that up, Susanna. Thank you for bringing that in the chat. And bringing I love Sonia Renee Taylor. I love them. Little Mama, you put, how do you make it stick though? Is where I'm having trouble. Right? I guess with white folk, yeah, it's like it's really difficult. It's really, really difficult. And I think that there's a part of it, this is not going to be helpful at all, Little Mama. There's a part of it that like you have to tackle. Yeah, you have to. That's a good. You had that epiphany, Jessica. You have to embrace rather the fact that it will be daunting, and expect failure. Expect it to not be received. I think modeling courage is important. I don't see enough white people. I like the thing I'm over with now, like super over it. I'm over white guilt and white tears in my inbox. Like I don't know what to do with that. Like I'm not going to console you. I'm not going to say you everything's okay, because that puts me in a position where I'm performing that emotional labor, right? So I can't stand that, but I also can't stand the hey, I can't sacrifice anything as a white woman of means and wealth, or a white man and means and wealth. I can't afford to lose my job, I can't, but I just want you to know that they're doing something really bad over here. I'm like, dude, like, so you want me to go risk, you know how much social capital, y'all, I forfeited, if not have lost, like saying some of this shit ain't free. I think that's the other part. This shit I'm doing here, it might feel fucking free. It's not free. And so like, so when white folks come to me and saying they can, or they're unwilling, or they refuse to sacrifice comfort or something like that, I get really fucking pissed off. And it's really like it just fucks with my head. I'm trying to think of anything else I wanted to cover, because I don't want to overdo it. And like beat a dead horse, kind of like that. Let me see what you said in here. We have to just keep up with every time they say it. Yes, every damn time. Right, 20 years. It is 20 years, right? Right. I got you, and there's no finish line. I think that's the other part I really want y'all to know, is like no finish line. Damn, I sound like Adam Parker. But this the thing. You're doing more, Nicole and Jessica, in some way, and I'm not trying to console y'all. I'm really not. But you're doing more than you think. You're getting more accomplished than you really can probably recognize at this moment. And the fact that you continue to fight, the victories are not going to be clear cut. I think that's the shit too. There are a few instances in history where we see clear cut victories, where white supremacy takes an L and it's a definitive L, right? It's very few moments in time. Shit. We ain't even talking about Joe Biden and that fuckery yesterday with the Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day and all that other bullshit. Like, very few instances in time in history are the victories like clear cut and easy. And I think that's what I'm pushing back against is like fighting white supremacy is not about wins and losses. It's really about just this constant interrogation of systems. And it's this constant like going in and disrupting certain things that are explicitly designed to not just injure Black people, but to maintain societal structures that are very, very, very problematic, unsustainable, and evil. I just think you have to look at it differently, and you can't subscribe to like it just can't be wins and losses. And I would say this, like out of all the vitriol and King Kong ain't got nothing on me, my rant on Facebook. I mean, I keep saying Facebook. I'll be damned. My rant on IG. After all of that, honestly, I felt really good. I went to the beach. Then I went to the Ellis Fish Camp on James Island. We had delicious scallops. Like, I spent time with my friends, and I got that perspective that I needed. The perspective is that I'm creating community right now. And I hope, and I'm not in the business of dealing hope. I'm not a hope dealer. But what I am in the business of is showing you, having a forward vision where we can imagine better systems, better towns, better everything for people. And that's what I want y'all to participate in, is literally helping to either, even if it's just fun. Like I really do look forward to the day where, and maybe Taylor can help me with this. I look forward to the day where I can bring on like a city planner that has a commitment to social justice. Bring on a city planner or someone from like Pratt or something with the certain tool they may have, like an illustrated tool. And them create system. We create towns and systems. We create, we create a vision together of what a more equitable Charleston, a more equitable South Carolina looks like. I'm excited about trying to build out that show, build out that live stream, because it's important. And one thing that the Post and Courier mainstream media won't let you do is won't let you really. It's designed to keep you addicted to the pain and the trauma. And you have to break out of that cycle, and you have to start imagining a more just and equitable society. And while that might not sound fulfilling and it might not win me a Nobel Peace Prize, for me, it's something that we just don't have enough of. It's not in abundance in Charleston, at least not in spaces where that are very accessible. And I'm trying to complicate that and stop serving me up my racial justice with this real simple this versus that. No. And I can't wait for, going back to that NPR Code Switch interview, I can't wait for the time where more white journalists use their whiteness to access certain spaces and use their whiteness to examine whiteness. Don't tell me that the Chronicle's closing after 50 years. Tell me what created the conditions so that it did close after 50 years, right? Right? Don't tell me that it just closed. Like, you can report the news, right? Like I said, anyone can look at the window right now and give you a weather report, right? You ain't saying nothing slick. Do some really thorough do some journalism. Your journalism needs to be a little bit more thorough than that, to where you don't just present me with the problem. And that's what our media does here, especially around Black issues. They just present you with the problem and no solutions. And not all stories have to give you solutions, right? But what they should be equipped to do, some of these publications should be equipped to do, is at least give you so many different perspectives. And I think if I want to leave y'all with anything today is, remember, Black is not flat. Black is I might get in trouble. I might get a copyright hit, but I'm gonna see if I can find it. Let me see if I open up. Maybe let me look on YouTube first before I get popped. HBO Black Art documentary. I might just play HBO Go. Let me close some of these windows. All right, let's see. And there was one artist. Let me see. It's like, to me, I don't know if it's I get this mixed. I get metaphors and analogies and all that shit mixed up. But to me, you can use this description of Blackness in other spaces outside of the art world. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it. It might be on here. Hold on. Let's see if no, that's 10 Trailblazing. No, I'm gonna open it up. Copyright strike. What? I love how they sign me out. Like, come on. I just used you on this PC. Learned a new flavor. The black community is not a monolith, right? Mm-hmm. Let's see, black art. Yes, in the absence of light. All right, let's see. HBO Max is notoriously horrible for like rewinding and whatnot. So let me, but I know what part I'm looking for.
The work, that really is affirming.
Here we go.
That really gives you confidence. I think it's absolutely.
Go watch them. Inspired by what he said and how he went about to create his black portraits or his pieces that have a black face or black image. I love his technique, and it just, to me, it translates. It transcends the art world. It transcends this discipline, and you can use it politically and in other areas and in social settings. That's why I'm showing. And to that point, this is so dope, right? And to that point, right? How he found how he's using all these different shades of black. Of course, I just said a simplified version. Like, it's just a way of me saying, oh, black is not a monolith. But did you hear what he says? He's like, black is not the absence of light. Black is a color. And the same thing, if you want to talk about black, we know race is a social construct, right? Race ain't real. But race, even the way our media, the way an Adam Parker or even a Jennifer Berry Hawes would approach blackness, almost as if black is the opposite of white. And it's not. My blackness, in terms of cultural identity, not, again, phenotype and bullshit, but my blackness, my Gullah Geechee descendantry, is that a word? That is not... It's not comparable. It's not it's not the antithesis. It's not it's not the opposite. We always put white up against black and black up against white, and it exists on its own. It has its own life and vibrancy, and has its own life outside of the struggle too, right? Outside of like social justice struggles, outside of racism. Like, my blackness transcends the confines of just constant contrast. And I think that's the limitations of an Adam Parker that I really find objectionable, is that you can't imagine blackness outside of this binary of it being the opposite of white. You don't see the carbon black. You don't see the grayscale situation. You only see it flat. And I think that that's the problem when it comes to like places like Charleston that is really committed to just saying, nope, it's just black. That's it. No shades, no nothing, no nuance, no flavor, no. What's that note of? None of that. It's just like, no. I'm trying to reject that premise and tell you that no. Black is a color. Black is a thing, and it doesn't exist just to be compared constantly to whiteness. Actually, so I like just letting him explain the difference of blackness and if you stack them on top, because again, use that literally, or bring it to the social conversation. Like, these black things, we're not always in agreement. We're not always in community. We might be cordial. We might work together. We might not. Like that, even that kind of makes me feel good. But I love this documentary because it talks about black artistry and what black artists had to they still have to contend with it. I don't want to use it as a past tense. What black artists contend with when it comes to the white eye, the white gaze, which we're learning, right? We're learning to divest from the white gaze, right? I can't wait till I do a live stream about divesting from the male gaze. Ooh. Do I have to do it without no makeup on though? I don't know. All right, let's look. I'm trying to get to the point where we're in real time, like the mainstream. Well, I can't find the clip I'm looking for, but basically, another artist or another museum institution curated a bunch of black art, or art that centered the black perspective, but by white artists. And he was like, well, we've got some black people who said it was okay. And it felt again, this is art, but it felt like that's the practice that I've usually been roped into here in Charleston, where they'll have a black person like say, oh yeah, it's okay to appropriate the Palmetto Rose. It's okay to appropriate the word Geechee and use it for your white business. There's always this black person that they seek out that's not going to challenge them, that's not going to make an argument for equity. And I was going to play it, but it was crazy how you could kind of what happened in this art world happens so much in social justice, happens so much in the nonprofit industrial complex here a lot, right? But anyway, so yeah, it was an art exhibition, bunch of white artists who had this commentary on black in America. It was like, yo, and then so people were like, nah, why are white artists doing this thing when you got black artists that have been perfecting their talents for years, for centuries. There's so much black art you could tap into. So anyway, I thought it was thoughtful. Again, I'm pushing our area to really see blackness in all of its bold and brilliance and vibrancy, and pushing for our institutions. And yeah, I'm hard on them. Yeah, I name call. Oh well. We need more dissenting voices. Until there's more balance with dissension, with dissenting opinions here, dissenting black and brown opinions. Until there's more, I ain't letting off the gas pedal. I'm not letting y'all off the hook the way these documentarians let people off the hook. I'm not letting you off the hook like some of these papers let you off the hook. I'm not letting you off the hook like some of these black people who enjoy access and proximity to whiteness. I'm not letting you off the hook. So yes, expect invective. Someone mentioned, I think earlier, I'm going to bring it up tomorrow, my t-shirt that's definitely getting fucking made. T-shirt, sweatshirt, I don't know what the fuck. It's going to be defund the Post and Courier. That one's getting made. Defund that motherfucker. Not the police. That's always the thing. We're going to defund the Post and fucking Courier. Right? If anybody owes anybody reparations, the Post and Courier, they should be the first ones. Right? Defund the Post and Courier, because they just, journalists, like, sometimes they get it right, of course, but damn it, do they get it fucking wrong. When they get it wrong, they get it so fucking wrong. I don't have a fucking podcast. I have a daily live stream with calling guests. Adam. Anyway, defund the fucking Post and Courier all day. It's horrible. Like, I'm gonna say this again and I'm gonna bounce and go ahead and eat my burger. Hey, Joy. It happens with the children's books. You worked with the Avery to curate a book list, and you were surprised at how many books about brown and black kids they were written. I know, written by white folks. Oh, a lot, especially when you get into hip hop. I'm like, oh wait, this is a white couple from Australia, right? I'm like, what is it? Yeah, it happens a lot. It sneaks up on you. But yeah, like I said, a lot of these culture critics and shit, they swear they love touting they Brooklyn, either the stint in Brooklyn or the stint in New York. It come down here and one black bitch in a studio apartment with a bad attitude get you to the point where you erase her shit. Fuck out of here. All right, see y'all tomorrow. What we gonna talk about tomorrow? Cultural appropriation in the liquor and food and bev. I know we talked about it with we're gonna talk about liquor. We're going to talk about liquor. Cultural appropriation in liquor in Charleston. All right. See you tomorrow. Bye. Love y'all.